In this video, we are going to just talk about the differences around social housing, because Dan has scaled a social housing business, and Airbnb, because I scaled an Airbnb business. So we're just going to have a kind of a debate on why I think Airbnb is amazing, and you can stand for social housing. So here we go. In terms of cash flow, it doesn't get much better than Airbnb in terms of properties to cash flow.
Yeah, but isn't it very seasonal?
Not the right properties, no. Mine aren't seasonal. They never have been.
Okay.
I'd say that. I had one bed that was seasonal. That sucked. Yeah, that sucked. But I'm in North Dorset. If it was in a city, contracted demand, but then, you know, I'm coming and fighting your corner here, but one beds are saturated. This is why I'd say to all of the mentees, unless there's a specific requirement to go for a one bed, don't go for one bed.
Don't go for one bed, yeah. That makes sense. But okay, so yours aren't seasonal, but generically, like over all Airbnbs, typically like seasonality is definitely a thing, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So then if you were to average out your monthly profit over 12 months,
it would be lower in the slower seasons, yeah, because the weekends might sit empty.
Yeah.
Contractors will still be booking Monday to Friday, but you might not have every weekend booked for someone staying for a holiday.
Yeah.
This is why you need to base your offer on a conservative, like 12 nights breaking even.
Yeah.
15 nights breaking even max.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to make less money in the winter.
Yeah.
You should still be making money in the winter.
Whereas with social housing, you know exactly what you're getting each and every month. So you know from the start of that deal, right, this is what I'm going to make every single month, and I can count on that for however the duration of the lease.
What's the average profit per month for a social housing property?
That does vary a lot.
What's your best performing one?
Best performing is £950 a month.
Yeah, okay. My best performing one is 2.2 a month.
Yeah, there you go. But is that an average over the year, or is that your best month?
That averaged over a year.
Average over a year?
Over a year. 20, let me get the maths right.
Oh, I'll swap your mind for that then.
Yeah. But that was an exceptional deal. I did have to negotiate £1,000 off of the asking price.
Yeah.
But the landlord was just not going to rent to a family.
Yeah.
It was, so beggars can't be choosers. He was forced to accept my offer, really.
Yeah.
That's why I profited so much.
Yeah.
I didn't calculate it to profit that much. So that, in your argument, that wasn't on the calculator.
Yeah.
That was just exceptional, right? I would say that's not the norm.
Yeah.
But for one of the Rent2Rent deals that I took on in November, just gone, it cost me $8,400 to set up. That included the first month's rent and everything to get it to the right spec. But 8 months later, I've already got my initial investment back plus $3,000 already.
Yeah. You got that initial investment, but you do claw it back relatively quick.
Yeah, but the first 3 months on a property with 0 reviews in North Dorset was dead. That was a very, very slow launch, which I kind of factored in. I kind of knew that would be the case because I've got experience with new properties in North Dorset in launching in the low season. But I based the monthly profit on the due diligence I'd done in the low season. So the high season would be exceptional. That's profiting, I think, $1,800 a month at the moment.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, that is good. Yeah, so the revenue, obviously you've got that initial investment, which you've got to claw back, but the upside is higher, whereas with social housing,
I see where he's going with this.
There's no capital needed in the beginning, and you're profitable from day one.
I wonder across the year, your best performing unit versus an average good unit of mine, because social housing units, you know, let's keep it fair, you know what that will profit because you calculate it, and if they pay rent, that's what you profit. Where if I take the average one of my deals is, let's say, £1,000 a month, but then low season is, the weekends don't get booked, it might drop to $750 profit a month. Yeah, roughly.
There's purely the profit side of things.
Yeah, here we go.
And then I think if we go more into like the operations.
no, let's just stick to the profits.
Also, I think obviously there's the operation side of things, whereas social housing, there is no, obviously there's keeping in contact with the provider, maintaining that relationship, being responsive to any issues, but
how often does that come up?
Yeah, very rarely. It's a touch point.
Okay, in the last 7 days for let's just say one property, have you done anything in the last week?
For across my entire portfolio?
No, just have you done, in the last 7 days, has something come up in one of your properties where you've had to do something?
Yeah.
Okay, how long did that take?
Oh, it was just a text message. So what, 30 seconds if that? Also, we don't get bad reviews that affect the performance of our portfolio.
Fair. Yeah. See where you're going with that. So, you know, I'm fully booked. I've got back-to-back bookings. That's a very well-run property.
Yeah.
A lot of people would think I'd be running around like crazy doing things. In the last week, I had a guest that has reported that the back door doesn't lock and he can't open it, he can't do anything. It's completely... So I've sent the landlord an email. Yeah. So that was 30 seconds.
But has that guest left the bad review yet?
No.
For the inconvenience?
It's not checked out yet. So he could do.
Pending.
Yeah, you definitely win on that side. When it definitely comes to it, is Airbnb is more hands-on. I think there's definitely more risk. I think there's definitely more profit to be made in Airbnb.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can get up to 10, 15, 20 properties and keep it just yourself. No, I haven't got a team. I've got my cleaning team.
Yeah.
They pretty much run the show, and they kind of do. They go to the property on checkouts. So they'll identify any issues and then let me know. So if there is any issues, then I have to deal with that.
Yeah.
I could outsource it.
Yeah.
But I don't.
Yeah.
Because I like to stay, you know, relatively in the game to be the best coach. But I would say, yeah, you definitely knocked me out there. In terms of scalability, it depends what you guys want to do.
Yeah.
You know, I deem Airbnb fun. I love it. I'm not saying I wouldn't love social housing.
Yeah.
I think you just got to do what you know you would enjoy.
Yeah.
Not so much, I do it because I love it. It's like, I don't know. I don't know why I'm not doing social housing.
Yeah, me neither, mate. You got a bungalow.
I think it's purely the profit.
Yeah, it's definitely.
I'm happy to do the more hands-on.
That's what I mean. Sometimes if you're willing to put the work in,
because that will profit 25 grand this year.
Yeah.
On the year of launch as well.
Yeah.
Just that one property. Yeah. Just that one house, 25k profit.
Nice. Yeah, it's good. I mean, yeah, if you are willing to put in the work, it's just like that scalability, isn't it? It's how responsive you want to be messaging guests. If you do have nightmare guests, managing bookings, cleaners, if they let you down, scarper it in for new cleaners.
Yeah, you've got to find a good cleaning team.
Whereas with us, it's kind of like set and forget and just maintain relationship and check.
You've won the debate, bro. You're just kicking a man while he's down now.
But yeah, I think when you're a beginner, like maybe you should go towards what you're more attracted to, what you're
100% what you're willing. I would say your area, but I think no matter where you live in the UK, you make it work.
I would also say as well what you've got going for you, especially if not necessarily if you're a new business or existing business, it don't really matter. But I would say it's easier to secure Airbnbs than it would be to secure if you were doing purely rent-to-rent, back-to-back leasing, a social housing deal. Just because there's less things to do. Yeah. We've got two parties involved. We've got to find a provider, and then we've got to get the landlord. Whereas you've just got to find the right property, and you know.
Convince the landlord.
Yeah,
that's got easier because of Section 21 being scrapped.
Yeah,
there you go. I've just resurrected.
Yeah, well, I give you
covered in golden armor. they're both epic. You love your business model. I love mine.
Yeah, I would say as well as a beginner though that what we were talking about is that there's more financial investment initially for Airbnb.
Yeah.
There's also more risk because of like you've not got any reviews yet, you've not got a brand set up, that sort of thing. You're new to the market, and you've got that initial outlay, and you've got to wait to claw that back. But with social housing, you don't need anything to really get started.
Yeah.
So you can begin and be profitable from day one.
100% agree unless you do it correctly. Like Matt has just done in Southampton. Launched that property and he's got fully booked. He's collected 3 bookings. He's pulled back half of his investment already. Yeah. So he got booked for, I think, 5 nights. I was like £900. And then 28 nights, I think that was 3.5 grand. Yeah. Or was it 2.5 grand? I can't remember. It was a good chunk of change. Yeah. And then he's got another long-term booking as well. So he's buzzing. Yeah. So if you actually implement it according to the process, you do de-risk it because you should be doing things prior to signing contracts. Yeah. Not just taking a risk. It is like a calculated risk based on due diligence and market data. Yeah. But yeah, it's still more risky than social housing by far.
Yeah, maybe it's not necessarily a risk because you can de-risk certain factors, but it's also like, are you going to sleep well at night leading up to once you sign that contract until that first booking comes in?
100%, unless you have someone like me reviewing the contract, like, that's a solid contract.
Not just the contract, but I mean, like, you've signed the contract and then you're waiting for your first booking and rent rolls fast approaching and you haven't got a booking yet.
Yeah.
Are you going to sleep?
It shouldn't quite be like that. It should be, you should have an Airbnb listing live, set to inquiries only prior to signing the contract.
Okay.
So inquiries come in.
They're starting to come in already.
Huge boost of confidence that's going to work. You sign the contract. There you go. There's a golden nugget for you guys.
There you go. Yeah, I didn't know that. I know nothing about Airbnb.
They're both epic.
Yeah, they are.
But I think you knocked me out there.
Yeah, I think it's more the, if you want more security, you want to sleep a bit easier at night.
I sleep perfectly fine. I understand his point, and this is why I don't advise doing Airbnb. You can 100% give it a go yourself if you're happy to sign a contract for 5 years to a landlord and accept you don't know what you don't know. Or get a mentor like Dan or myself to teach you one of the strategies, and we'll teach you exactly how to do it, how to implement it correctly. So it's very little risk, right? Because I wouldn't let a client sign a contract that I think, or I tell them like, look, this doesn't really excite me because of XYZ.
Yeah.
If you want to go ahead and sign the contract, these are the risks.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it's on them. I always say I would sign that contract, or no, mate, you need to walk away. That deal sucks.
Yeah.
So
you've got to get that important. I don't see how anyone could go at it completely by themselves and feel confident.
It's crazy how many people feel like they do. You know, I spoke to someone this week, and they're like, love all of the information. We're going to give it a crack at ourselves.
Yeah.
And I'm like, good luck, because you absolutely need it.
Yeah.
It's only YouTube videos. That's it.
Yeah.
And this is why we do get together, and we give you guys as much value as possible to try and almost teach you the strategy through this. But we don't want you guys to do it alone, because it is very risky. I think if you are going to do it alone, genuinely good luck, and message me. People have done it. And they send me a message on Instagram. It's like, your videos are awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I've secured this deal. And they're absolutely buzzing. And I'm like, fair play. Like, I would never take that risk. And I never did. I got a mentor to teach me at the very start. Every new strategy I've implemented, I got a new mentor. Everything I've done, we've got a current mentor. I've got 3 mentors at the moment for different things I'm doing. I'd never do anything alone, because I want to fast track it, and I don't want to make any mistakes. You know, the way I value time so much. You
don't actually realise you actually, by investing in yourself, like, you're actually saving yourself money. That money of mistakes and your time and everything like that. And it's just once you've done it, it's taking that leap of faith, isn't it? Ultimately, like, taking that leap of faith of like, is this going to pay off for me?
It's taking that leap of faith on yourself. Like,
exactly.
Based on the limiting beliefs you got. You know, it's not a leap of faith on us, because they should have watched plenty of videos to think, these guys are the guys. I need these guys. Well, look at Ryan. You know, he joined the mentorship 3 months ago, and he's on the edge of securing a 22k sourcing fee. So that's massive return on investment from the mentorship. Plus loads more. And a skill for life.
That's one thing as well then. So if we're not just talking about, if we're talking about Airbnb and we're talking about social housing, we look at what other revenue streams come from it. So with Airbnb, if you're not going to take it on as an Airbnb yourself, you want to sell a deal.
Or offer management to the landlord. Because you can show proof of revenue. Like, look, this is what I'm going to do to your property. This is how much revenue I'm going to bring in. I'll just take a 20% cut of the revenue. You keep the rest. They love it.
That's pretty cool, and obviously because it's high turnover.
And there's no risk.
Revenue, there's quite a lot of percentage there. So that's good. With the deal sourcing side, though, that's going to be a bit more tricky, right? If you don't have investors already.
If you're on your own and you're not part of a network, you're going to struggle to sell a deal. Nobody trusts you. Nobody knows who you are. Unless you're very active on social media for at least 6 months to show people that you're someone to be trusted and you're consistent. Why would someone invest in your business if you're not consistent yourself? I've always said that.
So there's a bit of a track record to build there. Whereas often on the social housing side of things, management is still a very viable option as well to landlords, charging them a percentage of the turnover. And then also with the deal sourcing.
This is his final swipe.
With the deal sourcing side of things, as if it doesn't stack as a rent-to-rent, you can charge the provider a sourcing fee. And you've already got a willing paying investor, if you will, there. You've not got to find them. You've not got to market it. You've already found them.
Nail in the coffin.
It's a very good strategy. It's my favourite, as you can tell.
It is awesome. It is awesome. There you go, guys.
I think
knockout round. So there you go, guys. Hopefully you found value in this. Like and subscribe, comment below. You won't, because none of our clients ever did prior to joining us. So I hope you enjoyed the video.